Welcome everybody. Today we're going to be looking at a recent track from Fred Again and Overmono featuring Lil Yachty. Let's start with one of the more interesting things in this track, I think personally, and that's the lead. I'm going to open up a blank serum right here. There's a couple little things I did here which I don't normally do in a serum preset. First off, I'm going to get the basic shape sound on a square wave, because I'm pretty sure that's just the basis of the sound. First off, I want a pitch bend on the sound, but I want not just one, I want two pitch bends. Normally, you would choose a pitch bend that either goes sort of downwards in pitch. So if I put this on the coarse mode, and make sure this is also set to the unipolar in one direction, you can do that if you hold down Shift and Alt and then click on this little blue icon here. So if I do this, you hear that pitch in the beginning. Gives it a very squeaky quality. You can make that quicker as well. Quite a bit of a click to the beginning of the sound. What you could also do is do the opposite. Instead of it going down in pitch, I'm going to turn this unidirectional the other way. So really it's inverted. It's actually going up in pitch. And I want this to be a little bit slower. Kind of a bit of like a trap lead sound to it. But in this sound in particular, I'm going to be doing both. So you're going to get two conflicting patterns here. Because the pitch that goes down, that's a lot quicker. So it's going to start off really high up. And as it's like a stronger effect as well, it will the sound will start high and then go down and then come back up. Like if I can just draw a little grid here of what the pitch is doing on the sound each time you play a note. This is what I think it's doing. It's like starting up real high, coming down low, and then slowly coming back up to the normal pitch. So if I go to the matrix here, you can see the amount of the first one, LFO1, that's the pluckiness, and then the second one is that leading up pitch. And you can choose how strong an effect you want that. Like the higher this is, the clickier it becomes. Something else that I'm doing, whenever I hear the sound, it doesn't sound like it's always exactly the same each time you play it. It sounds a little bit different each time. I'm going to add like a vibrato to the master tuning. And I do this time want to make sure this is on the bidirectional mode, because like a vibrato, you want it to go above and below the original pitch. If it's only going above, it's going to sound out of tune. So let's turn this up. And then if I thought that was too strong, I can just use this mode right here to like really get finer control of this amount. But I don't just want to stop there. I want it to be different each time that I press a note. So I went to the auxiliary source right here, and you can do note on randomness, which should mean that each time I click it, it's going to have a different amount of this vibrato effect. So sometimes so you hear how some of them are like have less vibrato, a bit more smooth out, some of them are a bit more wavy. I like that because each time I play it then, you never get the exact same note sound, so it's always a little bit different. And then let's just go back to the actual sound. But now I'm just adding a lot more effects to it. I'm using the filter just to cut off some of the highs. Chorus, some delay, compression, reverb. There we go, that's the lead. But when we get to the second half of this drop, we start to add in some sort of glitchy effects. It's still the same melody pattern continuing on for the most part, but here I'm using Ghost Beat. I'm automating different parts of Ghost Beat as well, because sometimes I'll use this Transgate 2 mode, sometimes I was using just the regular quarter note gate thing. And you can just right click this and automate that. To make my life a little easier, I'm automating using the hold mode, so that you just right click and click the hold mode. I can just move this up and down and choose a random setting in Ghost Beat. So like up here, that's off beat, and then up here, what is that? That's end fade, and this is copter. A lot of these later ones are a bit too extreme, but the ones down here I think are like more actually usable. If I wasn't using the hold mode, then I would have to like put one here and then put one up here and then match this one down here. So there's like so many extra clicks, and I have to like copy this value and then move it just so it stays on the same one and doesn't accidentally move to a different part. The hold was just making it a lot simpler. I like that. That's actually probably better than what I even had before. Then we're also just automating in some effector on the lo-fi mode, because this sort of emulates that downsampling effect that you hear. Then bass. It's starting off with a square wave, which is not something I would normally use for a Reese. I'm probably more inclined to use like a sawtooth, but this fit a lot better. It's just an LFO on what would be normally a low pass filter, but I'm actually using low notch, I believe. Not only does it actually still have a low pass filter in there, but this frequency thing dips down and that moves in the opposite direction to this low pass. Just adds a little bit of extra texture to it. An interesting thing here I'm doing is I'm using the note parameter thing here. So every time you play a note here, it's gonna go up and down this little area. So high notes go more to the right, low notes go more to the left. And you can link that to any sort of knob. So if I put this on a reverb mix here, for instance, then low notes will hardly get any reverb, but then the high notes, wow, the reverb opens up. And I did that just so that higher notes in this bass line can just open up a lot more. I just thought that would sound a little bit better, closer to the track. Drums. UK garage type drum beat going on here. What's fun with the snare is that it's actually going down one note. So that kind of makes it different each time. More variation than drums. Usually it's like swapping out the snare. The snare is never really the same in this track. Each time there's like a different layer or a different variation of it. You have the higher pitched one. That one's thinner. That one's like a really short layer. I'm using the bonobo loop again, just because it's a great shaker and it just added the energy that I needed. Then we're adding this little plinky sound, and that just builds up towards the end of the track. This project, you can download it. It's in the description. It's free. And also the Ableton version. Let's show that right here. Hell yeah. Yeah, wow, that's pretty close. It's kind of the goal of the converter is to be accurate to what you're converting in between FL Studio and Ableton, or back from Ableton to FL Studio. Or you can downgrade. At the moment, if you have an Ableton 11 program, you can downgrade it to Ableton 9 or 10, just in case you need to collaborate between the two versions. Although Ableton Live 12 just came out, and I haven't added that yet, but I'm going to do that. The world of DAWs keeps changing, so I have to keep updating the site just to be prepared for whatever comes next. It also does template generation. So let's say we want to make a template for a trap song. I've just generated this one. I'm going to download it. If you're a subscriber, you have access to note generation and other presets or samples that I've customized. If you're not, you'll just get the outline of a project file, still the arrangement that you can fill in with your own sounds. You'll still get the default samples that come with your DAW as well. Okay, I'm going to be honest. I don't really like the keys of this, but hey, we can change that. This is just a chord, but what if I was to change this into something different, like an ARP? It's a beat. It's the beginning of a beat. Thank you for clicking and watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one, whatever that may be. Let me know what you would like to see, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.